Okay, here we are. I got it. So that I can put you in the big screen. There you go. Yes, I'm doing appendices, and this grant proposal has 6 appendices or something like that, and a narrative. So
It's several hundred
I have
pages.
a very beautiful chart that I got after the one that I modified, the one that you started.
Oh, you did do it. Oh,
Yes.
I was willing to do that if you had any suggestions.
It's done, and yeah, no, I wanted to add some other things, and it was
But
easier.
you could anytime you could ask me, I would do it. But go ahead, that's fine.
Yeah. So, Sai, would you like to share your screen?
Yeah. One sec.
Is that the way that we could do it?
Yeah, one sec. Share.
Thank you. So we have Boming. Hi, Boming. And
Hi, everyone.
Erica missing. Mabuba's not coming. Yeah, okay.
Can you see my screen?
Great. So welcome to our lab meeting to everybody. And I'm going to turn the light off so that we can see a little better. It's actually better if we just do something like this. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And yes, let's get you going. Some people have never heard of what you're doing. Some people know what you're doing. So yes, let's start from the beginning. And thank you for presenting today.
Yeah, yes. Of course, no problem. Yeah, so I think throughout my time in MSLT, I've gained some knowledge as to how to make presentations presentable from being too technical to very generalized. And so I put a little bit of effort in this also. And so you will see as we progress, put a lot of visuals for everybody to easily understand this, the context here. Okay, so I'll go. The title of my comprehensive exam is developing a culturally responsive coding scheme for game design, slightly general, but again, this is focused on wearable learning technology. I want to quickly share something before we proceed. There are some sections that I'm not covering, and there are some sections that I'm covering. I'm not going to talk about wearable learning itself, as this is something that will take some time for us to expand. I'm not talking about the curriculum, any literature, theoretical framework, and results that I've been working on with some techniques such as data mining techniques. I'm not talking about them, but by the end of this slideshow, you'll have a broad understanding as to where we stand, what exactly is happening in terms of game design artifacts, how are we approaching making wearable learning a culturally relevant, culturally responsive learning technology. What you're seeing on your screen right now is a booklet. This is a booklet we give children, and we ask them to brainstorm some game ideas. And there are some sections here, and they say, draw, sketch, describe your games. There are many pages to this. And you can see on the right side, there are some discussion topics that will drive the children to be more specific as to how the game will function. I put the link at the bottom. If anybody wants, go to that URL. You can see the full booklet in action. But this is how the booklet looks like. It's also available on wearablelearning.org. I'm just showing you that this is the booklet that is the foundation of my work. When I do give it to students, children, this is how it looks like. I divided this into 4 quadrants. Top left is the booklet being used by children in Holyoke Boys and Girls Club, and the right side is the children from Boston Boys and Girls Club. Bottom left is Argentinian children, and you see children from India also doing the thing. What they're trying to do here is basically come up with some games. They're designing games as a part of the wearable learning curriculum, which unfortunately I'm not talking about at this time. But when they do take the booklet, spend roughly 1 hour to 2 hours on it, and this is what it turns out to be: a lot of action. As you can see, the blank booklet from children from US, they put all these cool stuff on it, and the center one is Argentinian children. They have their own ways of game playing, and on the right side is a game from India. This is from 2022 in India. Along with their game design instructions, methods, photos, they also draw these. These are, I'm calling them cultural signatures, the which are cultural elements that kids from each country are familiar with and they identify with. What you're seeing now is the signatures from Holyoke and Boston, and people who have played games previously, video games, clearly can immediately relate to it, because this photo is this the green is from Among Us. Bev should know this. Bev knows this. And also this Space Cat, which is a pretty popular meme. And this is the Roblox, another video STEM gaming platform. And we can see two teams indicated in two colors playing basketball. And there is some linguistic expressions that are unique to the US region. At least that's what I'm claiming. And we also see a lot of heart emojis and hellos and stuff like that. And I want to show you what children from Argentina did. In addition to their game functioning, they also drew these. Top left is a game. Oh, true. These are math games. Yes, these are all math games. Yes, and you can see that since Argentina is big with Messi, I'm talking about the footballer Messi, and so you see a lot of games here have football. This is a football field, and from my interaction with a buddy of ours that Yvonne introduced me to, roulette is a big deal, it seems. A game that is prominently played sometimes in casinos, but also in some countries they play this at home, which is great. And they have their own ways of expressing different patterns of thinking and putting up their games. And the same way I want to show the Indian booklets. And since I'm from India, I'm closely able to relate to this. If Krishna and Satvik are there, and also Mehbooba and maybe Deki, they should be able to see some relevances here. Cricket is a game, this photo. This is big. Cricket is big in India, and you can see the badminton is a big deal, and they're also doing little scoreboard. Whatever they're trying to do, they're doing that. And you also see girls team, because it's like a thing in India where girls do not want to play with boys, and I just wanted to put that behavioral norm as a part of the game name. And then you see the religious symbol Om, which I never expected and really stunned me. But but what do we do with these booklets now that we have this? What does this mean? So the booklets essentially serve as concrete artifacts. We call them game design artifacts. Now they contain traces, visible traces. You can see and you can trace some of the students' cultural contexts, identities, values, and some linguistic expressions, and also CT, learning practices, processes, computational thinking, learning processes, which is the entire purpose of this learning technology. And what do we do with these booklets, you might ask? So researchers, Yvonne and Erin and many other people from WPI have developed a coding scheme. Think of this as your rubric. This is the rubric. This is how it looks like on the left hand side. There are 7 domains in these square boxes. The goal of this coding guide is to assess the types of benefits that this game design process and game playing might have on CT learning. How do children learn? What sorts of things are they doing? And they came up with this amazing coding guide. This helps us, like you and me and all researchers, to qualitatively analyze the artifacts. So we have like some understanding of the processes, the student processes of the CT development and how they complement wearable learning and physical active games and embodied learning, everything. And as you can see, the it focuses on 7 domains: team, descriptors, collaboration, and stuff like that. But it does not account for cultural context and influences, which becomes essentially the focus of my research. I'll show more about that, but this is really the foundation on which I'm trying to build or add on a new culture module that will allow us to also code for some cultural markers. This, what you're seeing right here, is a sample answer sheet based on the current coding scheme without the culture module. And this helps us code for the occurrences of certain items that are categorized. Like, for example, progressive levels right here. 0 means, does the game become harder as children play the game? Is that designed that way? Yes is 1, no is 0. So right now it's 0 because if I open the Argentinian booklet from Carmen Group 2, Day 2, you will see that their game does not have difficulty levels or progressive levels. So in the same way, you can code for all this. This is all manually done, and credits to our buddy Olivia who actually trained me do this. And there are some other items, for example, targeted grade level, and it's not just a 0 or a 1, but it's like a Likert sort of a system. You scale, it's like a scale that you can code for to what extent, to what degree something is occurring. This is also publicly available on our Open Science Foundation repository. Now, when I say code for culture, what do I mean, and why do we care? I mean, why is this even important, right? What is the purpose of this? Here are just some reasons. There are so many more that why we should care. Starting with the most prominent learning theory in education, sociocultural theory. According to Vygotsky, who is the education extraordinaire in learning sciences, culture shapes how you learn and how you communicate and how you express in education. And coding for culture essentially helps you tailor your software, your app, to certain countries. You can localize them and make it more culturally relevant. You can polish them in a way that it synchronizes, it's meaningful to children from whatever country or whatever cultural pockets of people that you're trying to experiment with. Like, you know how Math Spring, when we're doing this in Boys and Girls Club, we tailored it to be more Spanish friendly. And you see, the same way that's localizing. And analyzing these signatures, cultural signatures, it helps you be that much closer to identifying different types of learning processes that students are exhibiting in learning CT. And we can also help find differences. What are the common items? What's going on? It helps us do that. And it's also, when you do that, it helps you teach core computing competencies, a term I learned from working with Bob and Sharon from elementary math in MSLT. Core computing competencies, and I think Wearable Learning is one of such platforms which is promoting CCC. And also it helps you tailor and create new versions of Wearable Learning technology itself by refining current features to be more inclusive of cultural elements. And it's only some items, but I think in terms of CS education, like a broader context, it also helps you build a model that can integrate culture and so much more. And we also know from Latson Building's works previously, who told that, who said that if you culturally, if your learning environment is culturally responsive, there is higher learning engagement and motivation. And that brings me to my research question. I want to just tell you the simplified version in the center of the screen. How can we create a tool to study culture in student game designs across the world, and with a goal to localize verbal learning to promote better CD outcomes? For right now, I would like you to please ignore this extremely complex words and stuff in my research question. You'll understand that in just a few minutes, but I want to still read it anyway. How can Pusch's cultural dimensions be translated into a coding scheme to systematically identify and analyze the manifestations of students' cultural contexts, perspectives, and identities as reflected in their game design artifacts created using the Wearable Learning platform across countries of different cultural milieu? And for us to even understand this, we should first look at, what do you mean by culture? What is this? Let's define culture. And then I put this photo of children in India celebrating their cricket game. A general definition of culture. What do you mean by culture? Culture is essentially a set of rules, of behaviors that you, me, Bev, everybody exhibits. It refers to some shared beliefs, values, and that are specific to certain groups. They are also shared by other groups in a slightly different variations. And Hofstede, who is like a really popular person in this field, like how Janet Wing is in CT, Hofstede is in culture. He wrote a book called Culture, Software of the Mind. It's like, I think that's like an amazing way to say what culture is. He says that culture is what distinguishes members of one group from another. And it also helps you, like we saw how Vygotsky said, helps you, culture is what shapes the way you think, the way you communicate, and the way you behave. And then it takes me to the methodology section, where I'm going to talk about what do you mean by bringing culture to wearable learning, before we go into the main definition for multicultural education. So this is a really...
I forgot I had to record this.
I'm recording it, Yvonne, no problem. I'm recording it anyway. So my methodology essentially is about assessing culture in artifacts, game design artifacts, and it's really challenging. I never expected this to be this challenging. I'm completely new to this, but as with time, I learned a lot of things which I'm slowly understanding can be scalable to other learning technologies. So I began by identifying and systematically analyzing some signatures that are visibly, you can see it on the booklet. And these are different from every country So I participated in in Holyoke experiments in India, and I've seen how the Boston children have written and drawn their stuff, and then Argentinian children, they're completely different. Although we give them the same framework of the booklet, they're all different. And so how do we measure this? What can we do to measure this? So one strategy is to look at these booklets as markers of high level cultural signatures, a term I'm borrowing from Pusch's work. And this will help us observe closely with a closed lens the kids' thoughts and behaviors as they learn CD and participate in game design practices. And my preliminary analysis, which I'm going to share now, is based on my initial observation and some human judgment, with as much less biased as possible. And so, with that said, we go to the main definition that is foundation to my work. The photo you're seeing is Margaret Pusch. She's like Jeanette Wing in CT, but in culture. She's the founder of the Society for Intercultural Education, Training and Research. According to her, culture is the sum total ways of living, including values, beliefs, aesthetic standards, linguistic expressions, patterns of thinking, behavioral norms, and styles of communication, which a group of people have developed to ensure its survival in a specific physical and human environment. Long definition, but this is it. And this is from a book called Multicultural Education, a cross-cultural training approach. This is the definition that provides, I believe, an incredible and comprehensive framework for examining culture's role in learning, and also allows us to look at the nuanced cultural analysis. This is also very deeply relevant to for developing culturally responsive pedagogies and platforms. And of course, it can be applied to it's being applied to wearable learning. And so, what do you mean by this definition? Now that we have the definition, what is the formula? So what I've done is literally extracted each of the items she said, and we're calling them cultural dimensions, cultural aspects. There are 8 of them. These are the ones that are essentially the foundation. And this new view of culture guides the analysis of artifacts in wearable learning. Now you can say, what do you mean by values? What is that? What are beliefs? How do you define this? And so I went to the literature. Slightly broad, tightly packed slide. Apologize for that. But I did not have enough room to cite all people's names here, but it's in my comprehensive paper. These are, it took a long time. I used AI also to help me find these from broad literature. So essentially, values are nothing but symbols, stuff that is very close to you, that you always relate to, you dream about them. Beliefs and aesthetic standards and linguistic expressions, these are very general stuff that I made them sound very general for this purpose, for this presentation. The original descriptions from literature, they're all present in my comprehensive document. If anybody's interested, I'll send it to you. Essentially, each of the cultural aspects is now expanded to what it means on an actual game design booklet and how it may be manifested in the booklet. And I did that because this allows me to measure them visually or qualitatively and document them per country and per booklet. And so I've been doing that throughout my summer in a big spreadsheet, and I'm going to quickly show you this. Can you still see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So what you're seeing is a spreadsheet that is in a HTML format, so it's easy for me to put this in Python for data extraction. But essentially, this is a spreadsheet. First column, team name. Hackers is a team that children from India have developed. I tabbed it, and then what you're seeing is, this is the booklet, same booklet that I showed earlier. But children in India have made this. They named the game Hackers, the names of the children, and this is their game mechanics. Essentially what's happening here is, since I was a part of this physically, I was there, so I know what's happening here. This is a hula hoop, and there's a bat, and then there is a board, and then they're trying to put the ball inside the hula hoop. The more you do, the more points you get. If you don't do it, you lose some points, stuff like that. It's their culture. Whatever they're doing, it's here. And you can see they also answered some of our driving questions. But coming back to this, in the same way, we have many more. So what I did was, my data set is like 8 per country. This is for US, color coded them, and these are for Argentina. For example, I'll open La Mosqueritos, and this is the booklet that our children in Holyoke have designed. As you can see, the difference in the cultural differences between US and India, and you can see a lot of bells and whistles going on, which is great. And so all this has been systematically observed and translated into each of these items based on the definitions from literature. For example, I just want to show you hackers, use of traditional sport. They're using traditional sport, which is cricket in the country. And how do we know? We can see that they have either written this. There's a bad screenshot, sorry about that. But you can see they've written cricket and basketball, and they've written this. But since I was there in person, I know that this is literally a use of traditional sports, which actually falls under values according to the definitions from literature. In the same way, most of these have been verified, coded accordingly. I want to tell you one thing here. Only recently, our colleague Isabel Costa, Yvonne introduced me to her, who is originally from Argentina, has who now lives in the US, has reviewed the artifacts by Argentinian children. The names are slightly different. They are named according to the groups they were part of. She has also reviewed this, and she shared her input in the spreadsheet. This is all the things that she put. For example, I want to just open the C1 group 3, and you can see the whatever the children have done at that time. Both the India and the Argentina data set of this document are validated, but the US ones need to still be reviewed by somebody who is of US origin, so they know they can relate to this closely. If somebody's trying to if you're trying to validate what I've written here for the Holyoke, the first 4 are Holyoke, the next 4 are Boston, we would like to have somebody from Holyoke community review this, so they know what's the signatures, cultural signatures. This is the most important part of the training process, and I would like to still expand this to other people who would like to review this and share their observations. So, net, this spreadsheet contains deep analysis of the game design artifacts from 3 countries, US, Argentina, India. However small they are, they're all accumulated in here. And I'll go back to the slide. From my initial preliminary analysis as a researcher, this is not from a computing software, or it's not some sort of in vivo. It's nothing like that. It's just from my initial understanding. It's not from any standardized method or computing technique. The common themes from the spreadsheet are here. This is what I see. I'm honestly reporting them so we can improve them. I still believe there is more polishing that needs to be done on this. 3 things I see: values and beliefs, aesthetic expressions, and communication styles. And I'm calling them the cultural markers measurement tool. I'll explain them more in detail. So let's first look at values and beliefs. What exactly are we talking about? Oh, click. So from what I observe from all the booklets, working on them, the values and beliefs, I've clubbed it together. And these are essentially some traditional items that children grow up with. These are specifically local to them. So when we did go to Holyoke Boys and Girls Club, right outside the facility is a basketball court. And of course they have that. And that's why we see basketball manifestations. This is another basketball, the hoop and the ball and stuff like that. And we also see a lot of prominence of video game characters among us. And I think this is really closely aligning with Hofstadter and also Pusch, because they both look at this in their own work. And there is a lot of character roles, like for example, stick figures also. This is one. I'm going to the next one, which is the aesthetic standards. Here also we see a lot of directly visible elements on the artifacts. We never asked them to draw these. We just gave them a blank booklet and then we said, draw your game. There are game elements that are not a part of the game, such as this a picture of the eye and video game characters, and then heart emojis and many more. And there are people also, you can see it says boring here. So they've written what they feel on the booklets as it's their identity. It's mirroring their thoughts. And these are clearly visible. You can easily see them on any booklet without much effort. And so this took a spot as one of the subcategories as one of the 3 cultural markers. And the next is communication styles. I know you're looking at this, your mom is calling. I found it really funny, but this is also very parallel to Yo Mama jokes. If you go to YouTube and you search for Yo Mama, you will see a lot of Yo Mama jokes, and these are all predominantly very Western in nature. I may be wrong, but I don't see them in India. If you say anything to your mom in India, like a mom joke, you'll get beaten up. You see? And so that's really important that we understand this. You see? And also, children here also in Argentina have written, it's a screenshot from the Argentina data set. It says, hola, it's great, amazing. We were not counting for this. And now that we know this, you can give them stickers, you can give them slightly different ways of communicating to make this process even richer so they learn better or more engagingly. And so, and this um, um, screenshot is also from our Argentinian children, multiplications. They drew a hopscotch sort of a game. It's their way of communicating their game. And this, believe it or not, your mom is calling is a part of a game, which is really interesting. And so, and that's another reason I put communication styles here. I initially only had two, but then I thought, wait, this also needs to be here. And then you might ask me, but wait, Sai, why did you do three? Why not four or just two? How did you do that? Right? As researchers, I should be able to answer you. And so, what's the rationale behind this? And so, from the current coding scheme, which if I take you back to this, on the current coding scheme, which is this, to the new ones, to the new one, there is a lot of overlap. Since culture is everything, it includes everything. It's like an umbrella for all the things that we're already coding for. There is a lot of overlap. And so I have clubbed them together in a way that we are not redundantly coding for things that are already there. So that's one reason I put that here. I don't know if that's acceptable, but I thought that should go here. And the next is to have as fewer items as possible, so it's easy to accommodate more cultural nuances. And also it's more adaptable that way. In case we go to another new country, for example, I don't know, Nicaragua, you know what to expect and you can easily code for certain items. And also in terms of training other researchers, it's important that it's easy to do, not in the sense that it is easy to avoid being given a task, but in the sense that it improves, like streamlining the coding process also improves the inter-rated reliability score while training, especially for new researchers. So from where I started and where this ended up, only from like manual observation, this is what I came up with to as one method. There are two methods that I'm employing here. One is a manual method, which is this. The second method, which I'm still working on, which is even more complex than I initially expected, is to use machine learning techniques, which my buddy Will Lee is helping me with. And I'm also using AI to help me code the thing. I want to cross-check what I found out with what the system generates, which is coming up. I don't have any slides to show you as of right now, but there's that. I promised Yvonne that I will show it to her, but I'm sorry, Yvonne. I'll do a version 2 of this. But where we started, if I take where we started on the left hand side to where we ended is a journey that makes wearable learning more culturally responsive. This is something that was not there previously. Now we have this. Now, what do you mean by values and beliefs? How do you code for this? Is this like an occurrence thing, or what do you write? And so I made a new slide where we express, I'm proposing some potential measures as to what do you mean when you say code for values or beliefs, and descriptions. So for values and beliefs, I'm saying that you code for the occurrences of a sport. Okay, cricket, yes, check that. And are there any symbols, which is something that it's not there already. And then you check that. So we have this symbol and we have these emojis. We don't necessarily see heart symbols in Argentinian or Indian data set. And they're specific to US. So that's an item that goes here. And then we also describe what you see for more qualitative approach, microscopic approach. For the aesthetic expressions, which is the second subcategory, we are looking at emojis. Man, I should tell you, the number of emojis we have seen in the US dataset are unbelievable. They're very imaginative. And we should totally have some sort of a mechanism that can help promote this more usage of emojis. If somebody is using it more, we give them more and not limit them from using it. It's helping them learn better. And also there are items that are culturally relevant, especially when it comes to video gaming items. You can see that here. I only put one photo, but there are many. And also for in terms of the communication styles, there are some expressions. Your mom is calling and this says, yes, I know it says yes, queen. It's more like a vernacular that is that may be specific to somebody. I don't have a proper explanation, but there's that. I did not see any of those in the other two countries. But these are some descriptions and measures that I tend to, I'm going to match with what the technical, like a standardized method might say, and then propose a method to make it more thorough. So essentially that's the end of my slide show. But I made just one last slide to